we're going to sue your business, you as a business, and then we're going to sue you personally as well. So that's one common mistake.
So my interaction with the agents is so separate that I really don't know what they're doing. The only thing that I would say that I see is maybe if they're not informing their client appropriately, because so as the closing attorney, I'm representing the lender if there's a lender involved, if not, usually the buyer. So when I'm interacting with I can't just interact with the agent. So I try to do a good job. I know how important agents are in the process, so I will CC the agent unless the party tells me not to, and usually they don't. So I CC them, but my interaction is with that person. So if you're not informing them of, you know, things correctly, I'm not your spokesperson to kind of change things in a way so that doesn't come out. I won't even know. I'll just ask them, and then they're, you know, through their response. And so that's the only thing that I've kind of been aware of, is sometimes I can tell the agent isn't informing their client correctly, or didn't get them to sign the right documents. And so when I'm asking for certain documents, they're confused. And that, I would say that is the biggest thing, is just making sure that your client is well aware of what their responsibilities are, anything they have to pay. You know, when I'm sending them the closing disclosure and they're like, what is this? And it's like, okay, this is part of the documents, you know, that's where I got this from, you know. So just making sure your clients are aware, because when they come to, when the closing process actually starts, most attorneys are going to interact with them directly.
And just to add to that piece, I'm sorry, I've seen this come up a lot. I have currently 2 cases that are kind of dealing with this, specifically when it comes to investment properties that are being flipped, the inspection piece. I had one client in particular who purchased a flip. It was originally a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. It was flipped to a 3-2. The foundation was shoddy. Didn't discover that until months down the line, and it could have been discovered with a proper crawl-space inspector. And so having, a crawl-space inspection. And so, you know, sometimes inspectors come in, they look at certain things, but they're not getting down, and they don't do the crawl-space inspection. Sometimes we're not pushing them to do that. And what ends up happening is costly to your client. And like, for example, it's going to cost my client $62,000 to repair her property, because there was, in addition to the shoddy foundation, there were a couple of beams that weren't established or erected properly. There was also a tree stump that's still growing underneath the house, and exposed electrical wiring. And all of that realistically could have been discovered with, you know, a proper, you know, inspection. So, you know, building up your team of people, competent, you know, inspectors, you know. And I know it's a conflict there, you know, potentially when it comes to, you know, you don't want to be the one to say, you have to go and retain that inspector, because then if they do something wrong, it can potentially fall back on you. But having, you know, just a good Rolodex of competent people that you can refer them to and let them make that decision on their own. But, you know, that will also help and save your reputation as well, because now my client is a little bit jaded by the fact that she trusted her real estate attorney, I mean not attorney, but agent, to guide her through this process, because she didn't know, and they more or less, she feels they failed her, you know, because that was something she would not have known about, and that's something that her agent didn't know about. So that's another thing that would happen.
Yeah, I want to say to the people who just walked in, please feel free to get something to eat, because some of that food is not good cold. And get some wine if you can. And don't be bad. This is lengthy, so feel free to get something to eat if you walked in. Like, we won't judge you, because we're happy you're here. Okay.
The only thing I would add is, so what you're talking about is almost like somebody's buying a residential property, but they were going to use it for commercial purposes. And so that's also like what I noticed is, if you are very experienced with residential, but somebody wants to use it for investments or to flip, and that's their primary function for it, you really should get some advice from a commercial real estate agent, because there are going to be certain aspects of that deal that need to be considered that you won't even know to look into, you won't even know to advise your client. Because if you advise the client and they decide not to, they don't want to spend that extra cost, or whatever, because commercial deals cost more. And so if they don't want to do that, then that's fine. But if you've given them that opportunity that you might not have even known was a part of that deal, because it's just a residential property and you're used to doing residential.
Yeah, so as long as it's definitely.
And you kind of stole my thunder for the next question, but I think that's important. I'll go to the next question, and we'll come back to the other one. Encouraging our agents to encourage our clients to get legal counsel. So I was going to say, share with us the importance of an agent encouraging their client to seek legal counsel in a real estate transaction. I'll let one of the agents also answer that. Just why is that so important? Because a lot of clients depend on us solely for information because they think we're free. And we get paid at closing. So they don't want to pay an attorney. They don't want to pay for an inspection. And I think I almost want to tell people I don't want to do a transaction if you don't, especially commercial. You can't force them to, but I just have to stop talking so they will seek legal advice. Or I will give them to one of my lenders, who's almost like an attorney as far as get them to the door, and then they will kind of lead and guide them to an attorney. So kind of answer that question for us on how you encourage your clients to seek legal counsel.
When I do my strategy session, if they're like doing purchasing on a commercial side, I now have I showed you guys this, but there's a section at the bottom. So when I get all of the information and criteria and what they're looking for, at the bottom there's a section that says, I highly suggest that you seek legal advice, as it pertains to the contract. So yes, I negotiate the terms, and I can negotiate your rate, or I can do the research for you, market analysis, all of that, but I'm not an attorney. I gotten some, when I got my master's, was there a legal component involved in the degree? Yes, but I'm not an attorney. So it is in your best interest, to do these things. And I have tools in my tool bag. I can recommend phase 1 environmental survey, a study or a survey also, inspectors, and all the other pieces, appraisals. All that's important, and I can't do any of that, and I can't make any eyeball guesses. That's not my field, and we can get in trouble for even trying to. So, but what I can do is say, I highly suggest that you do this. I have them sign off on it that I recommended that they do so, and the rest is up to them. So I can't make anybody spend their own money, but I strongly suggest.
Also, it's the same in residential real estate. Of course, everybody knows you need a home inspection. A lot of times agents, clients will say, well, it's a new home, it's new construction. Those are the ones who need the inspection the most, unfortunately, because everybody goes to work some days and don't feel like working. Those guys go to work some days and they don't feel like working, and so they don't put the switch where it should be, or they miss a code. And they do a lot of things. So I like Kenosha, I'll have our clients, if you don't want to get a home inspection, then you need to sign off that we recommended that you get a home inspection, and you declined. Because what will happen is it'll come back on us. Everything is our fault, we already know that. What I have learned over my 16 years of real estate is, I think Yolanda said it best, just stop talking when they're asking certain questions, and because it's out of my realm. I'll tell them, that is out of my realm of expertise. My job is to find you a home. Well, I got this interest rate, call your lender. That's their job, that's what they do well. What about the inspection? I have a young lady, she wants to do a renovation loan, and she wanted to ask me about how much it was gonna cost to do the kitchen, and I'm not a contractor, I have no idea, I cannot help you with this, but I can recommend someone for you. But they really depend on us. They like us, they trust us, and they think we have all the answers. But what I've learned is if you stop talking, they will stop. They will then either move on to something else, or they'll get the credible people that they need to give them the right answers. And that keeps me out of trouble. And it's kept me out of trouble for 16 years. So I would highly recommend you not answer things that you shouldn't answer.
I guess I'll add on to that since everyone has already. And like you just said, I'm going to piggyback on that. It's all about having the right team set up. It's all about letting everyone play their role. So, you know, home inspectors do what they're supposed to. We have our lenders who are supposed to take care of the loan. I have my guy Demetrius wave. He's awesome with Southeast Mortgage. So just, you know, people want to deal with you. People are, as the real estate agent, they're going to want to deal with you, and they put their trust in us. So we're going to make sure we recommend the right people in place, and they're looking at us. So our reputation is on the line. So we got to make sure we're referring the most reputable people and competent people who can get the job done.
So I have a question for our audience now. Who is new to real estate? Raise your hand. How many are new to residential? Stand up, please.
No.
Just got your license, just started, less than a year. So residential. And how many commercial?
How many appraisers?
I just want to kind of get a feel of how many new people are here, because, you know, when most of us were new, and some of that's by choice, you know, some of us just think we know everything. We don't need anybody. But, you know, it's good to know that we're reaching some new people in this industry.
It was just to the previous question, when you were talking about the component for the attorneys versus the agents. I like to look at the relationship between the both. I think agents carry a very unique and very important role. You know the background, you know the value of the property, you know the bargaining chips of both sides, generally speaking. And we as attorneys, we don't. We rely on your information, that context, and whatever we're dealing with the agreement. When the LOI comes across our desk, when we're getting the lease agreement across our desk, at that point we're heavily relying upon you. So communication is essential. When we're getting to that point of communication, what we want to do and what our goal is to make sure